Hey guys, Glenn here with another video. This one is going to be focusing on Town 9 base designs and how we can all be great Town 9 base designers. So if you look at this base that I've recently created, and usually the bases I make are bases that already existed that defended really well, and I thought it had really good concepts. I would take and then play around with the walls, play around with where the placement of the defenses and traps are, and make it into my own, because that's way better than me trying to invent or come up with a completely new base. Because usually when you try to do that, you're going to see it fail a lot, and then it'll take a long time for you to develop that base into a proper one, and one that you can trust to defend. So what I like to do is take an already existing base that's defending really well and doing really good, and then just make it my own and improve upon it. Always just rewatch the replays of people attacking it and then just improve upon it. So that's my advice for anyone trying to make their own base. Don't do your own thing first, because usually the chances are you're not a very good base designer and you just think you know what's going on, but you're gonna come up with something pretty amateurish and not great, and then it's gonna take a long time to improve upon. So I'm gonna first start by talking about trash buildings, then I'm gonna talk about trap placements, traps, and then defenses. So let's look at just the trash buildings. So if you look at the trash buildings, for me, a rule applies where every trash building needs to be reachable by a defense. And this doesn't have to be the case in all bases. I've seen bases where the whole base is shifted to one side, trash buildings all on the other side. It could be a strategy. And I'm not saying this is the only way, but I think the best way to create your Town 9 bases is to have the defenses reach as many trash buildings as possible. Why? Because it just makes the funneling process a lot more difficult, because I know that by dropping a wizard and minion, I cannot create the left side or the right side funnel because an archer tower is guarding it, or a cannon or a mortar is guarding it. And those things really get to you. And just the fact that the trash buildings are reachable by a defense means that if a string, valk, bowlers, wizards, or anything is on them, you can rely on those defenses, protect those trash buildings from going down. And in a way, a trash building can act as a defensive building for those defenses. It's like a shield for those defenses, extra HP, because valks, wizards, and these troops are going to be busy working on those trash buildings while your defenses take care of those troops. So for me, what I try to do is, with the heavier HP buildings like storages and town halls, I try to put some of them, maybe half of them. In this case, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them inside the walls, inside the base. And this usually is good when you have an hog attack or Laloon attack, where they don't have enough cleanup troops and they have to get inside the walls to take care of those storages, and they just run out of time. So it's good to have them, and it's good to have them in the base sometimes to put them in between defenses. And what that does is valks and things are working on those storages, which they're going to have to work on it for a while. A lot of the defenses surrounding that storage can have a chance at picking at those troops and attacking them. So the storages work as a very good shield for those defenses. Another thing you can do with trash buildings is create a gap with army camps. What I like to do, in this case, this army camp here, is if I know that a lot of people try to enter into my base here to access my queen, either with a jump or a wall breaker, you could try to place a laboratory, this, or an army camp, which has 5x5 tile space. And what that does is it's creating this huge gap where if you were to accidentally take this down too early, there's too many of these trash buildings to the left and to the right of it, where if you were to try to send your golem here, your kill squad, your wizards and bowlers and heroes, even though you're dropping them here, can start going around the base instead of inside the base because of that huge gap that's just missing. As soon as it goes down, it's missing. You're seeing an empty gap here. It's too much space. You drop the hero here. They're not going to be able to see this archer tower until all of this is taken care of and all of this is taken care of. So that's an advantage of using something like an army camp, which has a very low HP, which is going to go down really quick, like 2 shots by your queen and it'll go down. And all of a sudden your funnel is sort of like uncertain because the troops are seeing things more on the left and the right side rather than what's in front of them. Another thing you should always do, I think, for Town Hall 9s is builder huts. Put them in the corners. I've seen builder huts within the bases and around defenses. They're okay for that, but let's be honest, they're not strong or they don't have a lot of HP to defend your defenses. And what's great about them is they're so tiny and you can just plop them into the corner, and it could mean that the attacker needs to think about a couple archers and just a couple extra cleanup troops for those builder huts, or else it may cost them their attack because of time. Because the worst thing that can happen is when you do all of your attack and you have 1 or 2 builder huts in the corner, you're not going to have enough time to take them down. So I think it's very worth having those builder huts in the corner. I just like to do it with every one of my Town Hall 9 bases. Next, we're going to talk about traps. So let's reveal all the traps. Here is my takeaway on traps. You may disagree with them, but this is just from my experience and from my years of clashing what I think is going to work best right now. So let's talk about bombs first. So mini bombs for sure, I think needs to be placed in a point where the attacker is going to usually try to access your queen. So my queen is here, so I think mini bombs near an area where the wall might be targeted for the kill squad to enter is good for those wall breaker fails. Another way to use mini bombs, I think, that's really good is to have, let's say, 3 of them all placed between defenses or near a defense like this, and use them as like a mini giant bomb kind of. They can do a lot of damage, and I think maybe I'll keep it like this. And I think they're really good to just add another layer of threat to the hogs. So what could happen with my giant bombs and mini bombs placement right now is if someone were to try to use their kill squad to eliminate this section of my base and the CC and the queen, you can expect a hog to come in like maybe here or maybe on the opposite side here. And what they're going to face is, first of all, they're going to face 1 giant bomb. That's 1 heal invested here. They need it. Then another mini bomb threat here. Another bomb tower threat there. Another giant bomb threat there. And a whole lot of spring traps in between all of those defenses to hurt them. And here's another threat right there. So you basically need 1 heal there, another heal probably here, maybe another heal, and that's where you're sort of short. You have like 4 or 3 defenses that you're not going to be able to heal your hogs with, and that's where your attack could fall apart. So separate, instead of having double giant bombs which don't work anymore, I think having giant bombs and mini bombs all separated within different sections of the base, creating different threats within the base, I think is more ideal for Town Hall 9 bases now. And other than mini bombs and giant bombs, I think the next important trap is your spring trap placements. Spring traps for sure should be placed right between 2 defenses, and one of the best way to place them is, you see a lot of bases nowadays where you have 2 air defenses like this and then you have 2 cannons like this, because air defenses and cannons, they work so well together because one is really good with ground attacks and one is really good to protect from air attacks. And what you want to do once you have 2 air defenses like this and 2 cannons is to put spring traps, just 2 of them, right next to it, so that the hogs basically will get hit every time they try to target those air defenses and cannon. And you want the spring traps also to be near other areas than just air defenses. Of course, like here and here, you see the spring traps right between. And you want them usually right between two defenses, because for sure, if it's one space apart and it's between two defenses, you can guarantee that the spring trap will be triggered. If you have spring traps that are placed on one side of the defense and there's nothing on the other side, there's a 50-50 chance that that spring trap can never be activated. It just never activate within that attack. So that's the only reason I see why you would just want your spring traps between defenses most of the time. And the last thing we're going to talk about, nope, not the last thing, second last thing we're going to talk about are air bombs and seeking air mines. For me, I think it's gotten to a point where you can separate air defenses so awkwardly and so weird placement that Tunnel 9 just can't properly lolly in your base. So instead of trying to take care of the Hound as soon as possible by putting seeking air mines near an air defense, I think you can also come up with strategies where you have the seeking air mines just away from the air defenses, and they're going to threaten the queen walk in this case. So usually to stop queen walks, you want the seeking air mines somewhat outside of the base or near the outside walls, like how I have here, and here. Or you want to place them just by where a loon would try to access your archer towers or wizard towers. So my archer towers, or the Tesla farm here, and yeah. And with air bombs, you usually want to place them near a wizard tower farm and near a wizard tower, so that the wizard tower can so the air bomb helps the wizard tower take care of loons. And you're gonna see them here. You also want to put them as far away as you can from air defenses, because when a hound pops and their pups are near your air bombs will trigger, and it's gonna be wasted, and you're not gonna get a huge value out of your air bombs. So usually you want them away from the air defense as far as possible. Last thing we're gonna talk about was traps. It's skeleton traps. Skeleton traps, I think you would want them usually grounded in all Tunnel 9 bases. And the reason for it is, if you're going to be mass Lalund or Lalund in Tunnel 9 attack, that's the only instance in my understanding that air skelly is valuable. It's going to do a lot of threat. It's gonna do a lot of damage to your loons. It's not gonna do much in a queen walk with the healers, because even if the skellies are on the healers, the queen is going to take care of the skellies really quick, and it just doesn't make sense to use air skellies to try to stop a healer, I think. So the only threat that air skellies can bring is to the Lalun part. Though it's very likely that air skellies can ruin a Lalun attack, I just find that if your base gets Laluned, it's more because of where your air defenses are placed. It's maybe placed too close to the archers and wizard towers, which are the defenses that take down the loons, in my opinion. It's more or less the air bombs, wizard tower, and archer towers and expos working together to take down loons. So if you somehow get mass Lalun, don't blame it on the air skellies. I think it's more to blame on where your defenses are placed. So having said that, I think ground skellies are more valuable because they can stop the enemy heroes, which are king, queen. They're grounded, none of them are flying. You can stop with air. It can bother witches, you can bother enemy bowlers. It can obviously do a lot of damage to enemy hogs, even miners. If you see Town 11 dip attacks, but I'm sure no one's gonna mass miner Town 9 bases. If they do, it means that they probably really failed to get the Town 10 to take care of Town 9s. So don't worry about miners too much, but it will still do a lot of damage to golems. They will bother maybe your cleanup troops like goblins, archers, and barbarians, they will bother Valks a little bit. Maybe Valks not that much because they have a splash damage. And giants, they will do a little bit of damage to giants as well. So listing all of those ground troops that that exist within this game, I think it's more valuable and worth it to have the skellies grounded. That's just my opinion. I know how strong Mass Laloon is, but I just don't see, as a Mass Lalooner myself, I don't see a base getting Mass Laloon, and the reason for it is because your skellies were set to ground. I think it's because of the placement of the sweeper especially, and air defenses, and those air targeting defenses. I think that's more to be blamed. So for me, skeleton traps are better set grounded, and you want them near where your wizard towers are, your expo is, and away from, I'd say, the cannons and the air defenses. I think air defenses and cannons are better off with having spring traps near them, and the skeletons better off near expos. So that's it with my Town Online base design. I'm gonna talk about the particular defenses, which is a lot to cover, in my next video, which is gonna be part 2 to this. And this is just covering the trash buildings and traps part. So I hope this video was informative, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Make me proud, guys.